This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Bareboat Alaska. Up your DIY hunting game with one of their 37-foot adventure yachts. You and 5 of your friends can hunt, fish, set crab pots, shrimp pots, and take DIY to the next level. Bareboat Alaska is locally owned by a Ketchikan resident who lives here year-round. Call Larry at 907-617-4542 or go to bareboatalaska.com. That's B-A-R-E boatalaska.com and tell Larry you heard about it on this podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 300, which is pretty crazy to think about the journey, I guess. It's kind of cliche to be saying that stuff, but I've talked about this a couple times. And the reason why I named it the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast is because it was about bringing a reality to a lot of the outdoor content. Back when I started this in 2017, it just seemed like there was a whole bunch of ego-driven, I'm the expert type, and so I was going to admittedly say that, hey man, I'm not great at everything, kind of as a comical sort of way, but in no way did I want this to be a self-deprecating podcast. I wanted it to be about the learning and the growth and getting through those times of mediocrity that we all experience, because no one is born an expert. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes work, it takes that deep practice that people write about. But I've thought about changing it over the last, actually a couple times over the last year. I've thought about changing it because it's not a super marketable name. I'm not sure if people are driven away by the fact that that mediocre is in the name, if people don't want to go on it because of whatever. And I think the culture has changed. I think now we kind of reward mediocrity, or we look at ways that we can avoid challenges. And there's this widely accepted journey through life that is being advertised right now. That's trying to remove any sort of thing that's difficult, and so we're destined for a life of just average, and that unless the circumstances are right, that's where we're destined to stay forever. And that's horrible, because it becomes outside of your control. It becomes a matter of a political climate, and I cannot do anything. I cannot function. I cannot be happy unless the right person wins in an election. And I'm destined to stay average or below average until the conditions are right, until a situation is perfect for me to be able to grow. And that's horrible. And so one of the reasons why I thought about changing it is because I don't want to advocate for that. I don't want anybody to misinterpret the fact that this is called the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast, in which I'm advocating for that. I'm saying that average is okay, or that I believe that I am average, or any sort of that. This is definitely not a self-deprecating, only fails only type situation. This is just talking about the real journey from the kind of the beginner to you establish some level of proficiency, and then you become better. So talk to people about that journey, because a lot of times you hear people's journey is a very consolidated story, and they talk about, oh, it was difficult and there was a lot of rejections, but you just got to power through it. And so by kind of talking about some of the things that I'm currently going through, I think it brings a little bit more life to it. If you look at people who are writers now, and they talk about all the rejections that they first went through, or hunters that are learning new things, and they talked about, I missed shots and I just got better hours. But not everybody is at that point. A lot of people are at that beginning point. And so talking people through that, I think, has been a valuable thing, where you can say, this is what I'm going through currently, rather than this is something that I went through, but also peppering in stories of people who went through those things to give people encouragement to get better. So that was the main thing about it, because we can't shy away from challenges. That's where you get confidence. That's where you get true happiness. Right now, the culture is caught up in this purpose life of, it's not purpose. It's just going online, and they're finding some sort of purpose in a shallow thing that can't be winnable. And you feel like you're some sort of martyr because you're online and you're fighting the good fight, but you're on against it's you're fighting an algorithm. You're fighting people who don't exist. And then you go to the store and you see real people and you're polite to them and you say hi to them, or people are nice to you, or maybe they just ignore you, they're apathetic to you. You just kind of go about your day. And then you go online and that's where you find your purpose. When you could be fulfilling a purpose by just being kind to people in the grocery store, opening doors for people. There's such simple ways that you can apply these sort of things, but people go online and they find their purpose in these just there's nothingness, and that's how you get this sort of mediocre or average life. And that's what I definitely am against. When it comes to purposeful type things, being mediocre is a stage, or it's a step along the way to getting to where you want to be. And it's also this admission of being honest with where you're at, so that you can accept that there's room to grow and learn. If you just think that you're an expert because you killed a big bull or you killed a big deer, then and you don't think you have anything else to learn, then you become this sort of arrogant narcissist that there's definitely very present in the outdoor world, and it becomes your entire purpose becomes misguided. Even in like if my life is all about this big old huge trophy room, and what kind of person are you? If you have a whole bunch of trophies but you are a mediocre father, who cares more? Like, do your kids care more about the fact that you're killing big animals or a lot of animals, or do your kids care that you're a good dad or mom? What's more important there? So the trade there is crazy. And I'm not suggesting anybody who's ever mentioned anything about their kids in social media is a bad parent. Only the kid knows. But you can leverage experience to make a bigger impact. And I think there are definitely some people out there in the outdoor content world that are doing that. And you just get small glimpses into their lives, and it doesn't look like they're trying to exploit the fact that they're family people. They're not trying to exploit that or leverage that into becoming more popular. It seems really honest, and it seems real. They just seem like great parents. They seem like great people. They're kind people, and they happen to be expert hunters. I think that's a great thing to have, because there's going to be some sort of trade. You can't be expert at everything. You're going to end up being mediocre at certain things, and that's fine. You don't have enough hours. You don't have enough time to be an expert at anything or at everything. There's things that you just accept that it's not going to be as worth my time to do this, and I'm going to keep the important things going. It's my job to not be a mediocre teacher. It's my job to not be a mediocre family member. It's my job to not be a mediocre husband. And then everything else, it's okay, what am I going to choose to do with my life? And as recreation goes, I like to hunt and fish and write. I love doing those things. I've been writing for longer than I've been hunting. And so that's kind of the journey. And then obviously I've been podcasting less than I've done both or either. But choosing things that you can get after and that you're working toward, and then staying focused on that without letting other things drop. Prioritizing is such an important thing. No one's really going to care about your social media following if you're a bad person. If you're a prick, that's going to stand out a whole lot more than how many people follow you or your videos, or man, you're gosh, everyone wants to talk to you, and you have this amazing wall of whatever. But are you a good person? You look at Cam Hanes, and you can't verify this or whatever, but he sounds legit. And he goes on these elk hunts and he fills the freezer or fills the refrigerator at his workplace. Brings it in to share with other people. Doesn't like lord it over him. You look at those sort of things. That just seems like that authenticity, that realness is something that is huge. So that's what I was looking at for the Mediocre Alaskan podcast. That's kind of my mission statement in a very, very long statement. But what I was thinking about. So that will do it for this episode 300. Make sure you keep following. I appreciate the impact that I have been having on other people, which is kind of strange. You never know who's listening. You never know what resonates with people. So I appreciate the feedback, people sending messages or emails. So I definitely appreciate that. It's cool to do that. And as I've worked through going from just horrible at the beginning to maybe a little bit more proficient with writing and talking, I appreciate sharing the stories, and I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate the support. I wasn't a big fan of Patreon, so I'm off Patreon. I don't even know if I was really on it, but it just seemed like kind of, I didn't like it. So I'm on Substack now. And I enjoy Substack because there's a lot of really good writing in there, and you can learn a lot sometimes from people who don't necessarily write about what your content is. You might write about hunting, but just the way that someone creates sentences and the way they write and their style can be something that you definitely take a lot from. Same thing with podcasts. Um, Q&As from certain people, the conversational ability that like a Joe Rogan has, and then also the insight that other people provide. It just seems like there's so much meat to it, and they're so able to, in each sentence or in each paragraph or each little excerpt, they're able to provide so much value about bow hunting or elk hunter or any of that sort of stuff. Be able to be so articulate and so detailed. So listening and reading stuff outside of your content area can be really good to help understand what else is out there, and then expose yourself to the way other people do things, which is really beneficial. I've found in helping you grow. So again, appreciate you listening. Appreciate you following the writing. You can go to the mediocrealaskan.com, check that out there. But also you can follow me on Substack. My From the 49th is my column on Substack. That's paying homage to my original WordPress blog that was called From the 49th when I started in 2008, 2007, something like that. So thanks again for listening, and talk to you next time.